Hi, and welcome to IELTS Cast episode 42. In this episode, I talked to Syeda, who is an IELTS candidate, or former IELTS candidate, now that she's been successful, that managed to score band 8 in writing on her very first attempt at the exam. It's a true success story, and I'm sure you're going to get a lot of insightful information from Syeda in this episode. Syeda took the general exam, and as you know, in task 1 of the general, you need to write a letter. Syeda's approach to the letter is interesting because she would always try to frame the scenario that she needed to write about in a way that allowed her to easily come up with synonyms. For example, in her letter, she wrote as if she were an elderly person writing the letter. And in choosing to write in this way, it allowed her to make reference to herself as, for example, an elderly person, an older person, an aged person, a pensioner. It just allowed her to very easily come up with synonyms for the scenario that she chose. And she attributes this to, at least in part, to her success. Syeda also shared a number of resources that she feels helped her prepare thoroughly for the examination, and I will share them with you now, so if you want to punch them into your phone or your computer, you can flick through them as you're listening to this episode. The first is the dictionary app, which is available through iTunes or through the Play Store if you're on an Android device. Syeda also points out that she read many sample essays on websites like IELTS Mentor, which is mentor.com, and eslab.com. So if you're looking for sample essays that can help give you an idea about what is required to be successful, you might want to check out those two websites. Okay, now before we get to the episode, if you could leave this show a 5-star rating on iTunes, that would be much appreciated, or a thumbs up on Stitcher if you're listening to this using the Stitcher app, that would be great. Don't forget that you can also post an MP3 of yourself speaking and receive free feedback at IELTSnetwork.com. You can also post your Task 1 or Task 2 writing samples if you are in need of some feedback. All speaking and writing samples posted to the website do receive feedback from the professionals operating on IELTSnetwork.com. So it is a great and completely free way to receive some guidance with regards to your speaking and writing prep. And speaking and writing are things that are difficult to learn from a textbook. It's something that you do need to practice. You have to learn how to produce it, and you need to get feedback to know if you are producing this material and demonstrating these skills in an effective way. And IELTS Network can help guide you in that regard. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you'd like to get in contact with me, you can email me directly at ryan@IELTSIELTS.com. You can follow me at Twitter at IELTS Network. I'm now on WeChat as well. If you'd like to send me a message there, just search for IELTS Network as one word, and you will find the account that I've opened there. Okay, now here's Syeda and I talking about her success. Today I'm speaking with Syeda, an IELTS candidate that took her exam at the British Council in Hyderabad. Syeda scored an overall band of 8. She achieved 7.5 in listening and in speaking, and she achieved band 8 in reading and in writing. And she's going to tell us a little bit about her experience and how she scored these grades. Thank you for coming on the show today, Syeda.
Thank you, Ryan.
So let's start the interview by talking about why you took the exam.
Actually, I'm planning to immigrate to Canada.
Okay.
So that's why I had to take IELTS, and the minimum that I had to score was band 7.
Okay. And so what does band 7 get you in terms of immigration to Canada? How does that help?
I think when I had my consultation with an immigrant consultant, so they told me based on my job profile, I think the band 7 is the minimum that I have to score in order to immigrate to Canada.
Okay, and that's band 7 in all of the skills, right?
Yes. If I score more than band 7, then obviously my overall score for the immigration would go higher, and I would have more chances of being selected in the express entry pool.
I guess this means that you took the general.
Yes, general training.
Okay, let's go through the skills and talk about how you approached them. We'll start with the listening. You achieved band 7.5. What was the preparation like for that? How many months ahead of time or years ahead of time did you start your specific preparation for IELTS listening?
I actually started from November 2nd. I took this 4 week course from a coaching center just to get an idea of the exam and the modules because I did not have any idea about IELTS or IELTS exam or how to even begin. So I went to this coaching center for like 4 weeks, and they give you like the basic idea of how. The questions are and how many minutes is each module, and they kind of give you these simple tricks and techniques where you can you do time management and all that.
Okay.
And after the 4 weeks I actually started preparing like from home. So I would say I took about 1 month where I prepared by myself.
Okay, so now you mentioned that there were a few strategies that were shared at the prep center. Which of those strategies did you find most effective?
I wouldn't say that for listening, I don't think it really helped, but for reading, actually, the ma'am that was who was teaching us, she kind of taught us how to quickly skim and scan the reading passage, how you can like quickly go and find the answers, like you don't have to read the whole passage, and how you have to like find the keywords in the passage, which I didn't knew before. And when I even before going to this coaching center, I did a practice test, and it took me like more than 3 hours to actually complete the test.
Wow.
So that was really helpful because they actually tell you how to quickly find the answers.
Now let's unpack that a little further. So when you say they tell you how to find the answers, what specific strategies were they teaching?
It's just that they would show a reading passage, like a difficult passage, especially for the academic. I mean, the students there were like the general and the academic. They would like sit together, and the ma'am would go through like different passages. So she kind of there was like a big monitor, and then they would like highlight the passage, and she would go through the questions one by one and explain like why I mean, for example, if there's like true or false for the reading passage, and then she would give an explanation for why this is false or why this is not given in the passage, because that's where most of the students make mistakes, between false and not given. So she would give like a detailed explanation, and that would like give you a general idea of okay, why certain statements are false, and why you can actually see why these are not given in the passage, because that's very confusing.
And so when you say that she also taught you how to skim and scan, how did she define those two skills?
I think like if you have a question and when you first read the question, you have to actually see for the keywords. Sometimes like the question has a certain word, and in the passage you'll always find a synonym, so it's not always the exact word from the question, so you have to find the synonym in the passage. And like when you're given the question paper, you have to like quickly like skim, and then when the second time you read the question, you find the keyword, and then you have to go back to the passage and then scan for the keyword or for the synonyms. So you don't have to read the whole passage; just look for the word.
I see. Now, some strategies suggest looking at the first sentence in the paragraphs as you work through to help speed yourself up, to help accelerate your ability to move through the material and find the specific area that pertains to the question that you're looking at. Did you follow any kind of strategy like that?
Yes, like there's a certain question type where you have to match the heading to the passage. I think for those questions, you have to like read the first sentence and the last sentence of the paragraph. And I think in my case, it didn't really help me because I couldn't really make out the exact, because there would always be two options where I would get confused between those two options, and then I had to like read the whole passage to actually find the right answer. So
Right.
I would like read the whole passage, like one passage at a time, and then find the answer for the passage.
I see. So your skimming and scanning skills were more effective than that strategy.
Yes.
Okay, okay, good to know. Now, I think we kind of jumped ahead to reading, but you said that there weren't too many strategies in the listening section that you found particularly effective. At least not that you learned from this center that you were working with.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So then in reading, is there any other strategy that you wanted to share?
I think, like, for the reading passage, always like the passage kind of. How should I put it? The answer is always a simple word. It's not like a word where you can't pronounce it or you can't spell it. It's difficult in spelling. It's not always that case. It's always like an easy word. So if it helps, like look. I mean, the sentences sometimes it's paraphrased, so you have to kind of read the questions like once or twice, maybe thrice. So if you really concentrate and read the question properly, then it will be much easier to find the answer.
Mm-hmm. Can you just tell us? I mean, what were the topics that you saw in the readings, and how were they delivered? What was the kind of the writing style that they were delivered in, if you can
I
remember?
remember this. Yeah, I can remember this passage where it was about like a sports center, but there were like different sections of the sports center. Like there was a cafe, and there was this the clinic, and there was also like I would say that there was a question about a restaurant, and there were like two paragraphs where they mention a restaurant, like you sit down and you eat. Like they mention a cafe, and in the next one they said like it is a grill. So, and the question was like this, what do you call it? This center, not center actually. This center has a restaurant. So it was a bit confusing because one of the options it said it has a cafe, and the other said like it has a waiter and a grill.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a bit confusing because, and you have to really decide. Like cafe is like obviously there is a like seating arrangement, and then you sit and then you have like coffee, and then there is a waiter and a grill. So I think for that, I think in those terms you get confused. Like the question is asking for a restaurant, and then you can't find, like it doesn't really specify that it is a restaurant.
Right. Yeah. So it was
So
testing. Yeah, your ability to supplement certain lexical resources for others.
yeah, so I think the correct answer was like a restaurant would have definitely a waiter and obviously a grill. So that's how you have to like imagine and then conclude an answer.
Now let's get to the section that I would like to spend some time talking about, and that's your writing. You scored band 8, and actually I forgot to ask you this. I mean, was this your first attempt at the IELTS?
Yes, it
Yeah.
was my first.
So a band 8 in writing on a person's first attempt is not often seen. So this is a really incredible mark. You took the general, which meant you wrote a letter and you wrote an essay. What is the picture there? How did your writing evolve during the period of preparation, moving towards the exam?
I think like after I finished my coaching, like I had like a month to prepare by myself. So I would write an essay every day. I did not like practice the letter, but I did write an essay every day. Like I would take a question from a practice paper, and I would like generally write it like I would do my exam. So I would write the whole essay, but making sure that I have at least 10 vocabulary words in the essay, and also that the essay is kind of connecting to each other. The paragraphs are connecting to each other. That was like the basic strategy that I was following.
Okay. Now, if I could just jump in here. So you said 10 vocabulary words. What do you mean by that?
Like a high end word, like a good word, not like the common English that we use. It should be something like like a good grammar word. If that makes sense.
It does, yeah. But I don't mean to put you on the spot, but can you think of an example that you could share that you might have used in your exam?
Okay, let me think of it. The essay was about crime. Okay, I'll tell you the question that I got in my test. I actually wrote it down so I can speak about it.
Okay.
Yeah. The question was something like this, like people like watching TV programs and movies about crime and criminals. So why do you think these programs are so popular, and give reasons?
Okay.
That was the question for my essay, like the main exam.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I wrote something about the government. I think I wrote something about the role of government and like monitoring such programs, something like that.
Okay.
And for government, sometimes like for the synonyms of government, I sometimes used like higher authorities, and then I used administration, and I used like the central body.
Okay.
Like different words for but describing government.
Okay, so whenever you were making reference to the subject of government, as it appears in your question, you were using these alternative terms. So you were demonstrating that your lexicon was quite wide.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
I was using like different words, but they were not like common words that you would actually speak. Like I would never, if I'm referring to government, then I would never say high authorities. Like while I'm talking to someone,
Right.
I would always say government.
Mm-hmm.
So while I'm writing, like I use these high end words, and I would not always use government in my whole passage.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Like, you should at least have these 10 different vocabulary words. For example, if I'm writing about um, like giving knowledge, for example, giving knowledge, then I would not write giving knowledge. I would say imparting knowledge.
Okay.
So imparting in a way means giving, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I would use imparting rather than just writing giving.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I did not use because, the word because in my passage. I never used that, because, which, or what. I wouldn't use these words. I would always put them in like nicely, put it in an academic way. I wouldn't just write plain English.
Mm-hmm. The other important side of that is that it sounds as though you were prepared and you knew how to use these words correctly and in context. So people that are listening that think that it's just a matter of memorizing a word list, it's not quite that easy. You also have to know how to use these in a grammatically accurate way, and how to partner them in a way that does sound natural and is grammatically accurate. I guess that's my next question: is was there a period of preparation where you were trying to remember how to use these words in context?
Yes, I was like every day. Like I would memorize about 5 to 6 words, like new words. Um, there's an app which is, let me tell you, there's like a dictionary app where you like they kind of send an alert every morning. Like they send you an alert with a new word, and you can always go to that app and then check out the meaning and also the way it's pronounced.
Sorry, what was the name of that app?
I think it's called Dictionary.
So if somebody just types dictionary into iTunes, they'll be able to find this app?
Yes.
Okay.
So like every morning you get an alert, and there's always a new word.
Okay.
So that's a good way of like learning a new word. You don't always have to go and Google all the words.
Right. And does this app also give you an example sentence of like to show you how this word is used?
Yeah, it's exactly like a dictionary.
It's a dictionary. Okay.
Yeah. So you have this the meaning of the word, and then you have like an audio kind of an icon where if you like click on the audio, then it kind of pronounces the word for you, and at the bottom you have like a sentence which kind of shows how you can use the word.
I see. Okay. Yeah, that definitely sounds helpful. And how many weeks were you using this prior to the exam?
I think when I actually started preparing by myself, I would say a month. So I would learn like, but apart from that, I would also like learn 5 to 6 words. Like when I was doing my writing preparation, I would read so many essays. I might have read like 100 or 200, sorry, 100 or 200 essays, to be honest. So whenever I read a essay and I found a word, that I could use. So I would write it down, and then I would find the meaning for it, and then I would try to use it, like in my preparation. Whenever I write an essay by myself, then I would try to incorporate the word into the essay.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to prepare, and that's also the way that I help the students that I work with as well prepare. Is you look at people that have used the word before, especially in an IELTS context, because that can also help you work into strategies. Well, how could I use this in my own writing? But when you say that you were reading so many essays, where were you getting these essays from?
There are different websites. I'll actually tell you. There's www.ielts-mentor.com,
Okay.
and they're like different websites. And then there's www.esl-lab.com. Like when you go and Google, like I would enter the whole topic, like the first sentence of the topic, and then like you get these different options where like you find students who have written essays, and sometimes there are good essays. So I would Google all those essays for a particular topic, and then I would read them, and then the essay that I like most, then I would copy paste it in like a Word document, and I would keep it for a reference.
I see. And did you do any sort of memorizing of the sentences that you see in the essay? And I don't mean to like with an intention to reproduce these on your actual exam, but my meaning is more that in the future you could adapt that sentence to your own writing. Or was it
I would
more,
say I didn't really memorize the sentence, but
Okay.
if I found like a good quote, like let's say there was an essay that I read. It was about a war and maybe a world war or something like that. And there was a good quote by Gandhi. It said like, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. So I sort of memorized the quotations by these great people. So wherever, if I think it's appropriate to include it in my essay, then I would, memorize such quotations and quotes, and then I would incorporate it in the essay. But I would not usually memorize the sentence or anything like that.
I see. So unless it was an actual quote, you wouldn't be memorizing it. Okay. So let's talk about your strategy to use quotes in your IELTS essay. To be honest, I don't hear people share this much. Did you quote somebody in your task too?
I think I wrote about. There was this study about criminals. Like I don't remember. I read it in like a recent newspaper, and there was this a journalist who. I don't know. He was like a crime journalist, and he said like 70% of the children are affected by the TV programs about crime and criminals, and parents should always exercise discretion while when television kind of air that crime program. So I kind of mentioned him in the essay.
Okay.
So I said like a crime journalist mentioned so and so, and I kind of, I don't know, like I put the newspaper, the name of the newspaper in like a bracket, and then I put a comma, and then I put the year. So I kind of referenced it, to be honest.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I've never heard anybody do that before.
No, I don't know. It was like I think I was extremely lucky. I read it somewhere, and then I could actually reference it.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's much stronger to share true-to-life examples in your essay to help support your central argument, because it makes it so much more difficult for the reader to disprove what you're saying or what you're arguing, because you are sharing. It's sort of like saying, look, this is an instance where what I'm trying to say is a part of reality. I mean, it really did happen in this one instance, and in using that, it really does help to bolster the overall argument that you're making. So you mentioned the name of the newspaper, you mentioned a real world case involving a reporter and a specific situation. Now, what was the structure of the paragraph in which you used that example? Did you have, like a topic sentence example and then some sort of discussion progression to it, or how did you structure that paragraph, if you can remember?
Like honestly speaking, when I first time read the question, I was really panicking because I had no idea what to write I never, I've read so many essays, but I never read anything which was relating to crime and
Right.
TV programs related to crime. I never read that topic.
Yeah.
So I spend 5 to 10 minutes where I was panicking about what to write, and then I started making these the points. I had only 2 points to write. First of all was related to the question actually. So the first part of the question says people like watching TV programs about crime. So yeah, I said. So I kind of agreed with the statement. Yes, people do like watching TV programs about crime or movies about criminals, and I kind of explained because there's a lot of superhero kind of stuff that's being shown in this criminals. When you see a movie about criminal or a robbery or something like that, the male protagonist always gets away with the money and he doesn't get punished, or he always kind of has a happy ending in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So people like to watch that, and they kind of that is something they can't do in a real life, because if you go and rob a bank, then definitely you will end up in prison. So that was my first point. And the second point was how is it affecting the society? So I just had 2 points. I couldn't think of anything else.
Okay.
So the second point was how the crime programs are affecting the children, and how this kind of affects the society. Children become more aggressive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's where, when I wrote children become more aggressive while watching these programs, so that's where I mentioned the statistics given by this crime journalist,
Okay.
where he kind of mentions that they are more juveniles who kind of do these crimes.
Yeah, I guess these supporting points were separated into their own paragraphs. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
The first paragraph, the introduction was, it was like an overall statement, about crime.
Okay.
Overall statement, and then I think I gave a general idea about what I'm gonna write. I am supporting the statement, but however, there are some negative aspects to the statement, or something like that.
Okay.
In the introduction,
Right.
giving a basic idea about what I'm gonna write in my next paragraphs.
So now, but that one sentence that you did that, it sounds like you made sure to connect that directly to what the essay question was asking.
Yes, first of all, I'm writing about the a general idea about the question.
Right. Yeah, I think that's also very important. It's something that we should amplify, is that it's very important that the examiner sees from the very beginning of the essay how this connects to the essay question. There's no mystery. There's no smoke and mirrors. It's just a very direct connection to what you're being asked to respond to. And did you repeat any of the words that were seen in the question, or did you paraphrase everything?
I think I used the word criminals. Maybe 2 or 3 times, because I was really finding it hard to find another word for criminals. So I might have used that word. But I would mention that, if I'm using the word criminals in the second paragraph, then I would use criminals maybe in the 4th paragraph or 5th paragraph. I wouldn't use it in second, third. If I'm using it in the second, then I would leave the 3rd paragraph. I wouldn't use that word.
Right.
And then I would use the word in maybe in the 4th paragraph or 5th paragraph.
Right, yeah. You're just trying to avoid overuse of a single word, yeah.
When I wrote the introduction, and then the 2nd paragraph, I wrote about agreeing to the main statement. And I would like to mention that in the question, they did not ask me about the negative effects. Sometimes they ask you to contrast, or sometimes they ask you to write both advantages and disadvantages.
Yeah.
However, my question did not ask me to write about the negative aspect.
Yeah.
But I thought it would be safe to actually write about the both sides of the statement, even though they did not ask me in the statement to, specifically to write about the both sides. So I think whoever is going to give their exam, I would say, to be on the safer side, just write a small paragraph about the negative side of the statement.
So that's what you did. You had two paragraphs that supported your point, and then or two supporting paragraphs that were in support of your central point, and then a third supporting paragraph to look at the alternative side. Is that
Yes, that's right.
okay? So your essay was 5 paragraphs in total.
5 to 6, yeah. I don't remember actually. Yeah, it was quite a long paragraph because I don't know. As soon as I started writing, then I kind of developed ideas while I was writing.
Now talk about cohesion and how you were linking your ideas together. Was that part of your strategy at all?
Yes, that's very important because when I wrote my introduction, I sort of the last sentence of my introduction was kind of hinting towards the idea of the first paragraph. Like if I'm writing the first paragraph about why people like watching these programs. So at the end of my introduction, I kind of mentioned it. I said a lot of people like watching crime programs or something like that. I did write about that. And then the next paragraph, I sort of continued with the idea. And I said, yeah, people like watching because this is all exciting and they kind of get an opportunity to escape into the imaginary world. So that's how I was always the last paragraph sentence would give an idea about the next paragraph.
Oh, I see. So your sentences your paragraphs were concluding with kind of a lead into what the next paragraph was going to be about.
Yeah, I mean, giving the reader about the idea, like what the next paragraph would be.
Yeah.
So I would do that, and even when I finished my third paragraph, which was supporting the statement, and then at the end of the paragraph, I wrote about, however, there is a negative side to this scenario, and then I began the my statement, which kind of shows the negative aspect of the statement.
When you started the next paragraph, were you using any sort of phrase, as a link to what was said before?
For a paragraph that was supporting the statement, I would use words like furthermore, in addition,
right,
or as aforementioned. And I would use all these positive words if I'm supporting the statement.
Mm-hmm.
And if I am talking about the negative side of the statement, then I would use however, nonetheless, nevertheless.
Right.
So I would use these words at the beginning of the sentence, and then I would start writing about the negative side of the statement.
Right. Okay. So to kind of frame how the general idea connects to the ideas that were presented earlier.
Yeah, I mean, it's very important to use words like on the other hand, or maybe on the flip side of or something like that.
Right.
I mean, the reader gets an idea that, okay, you're writing something which is negative about the whole thing.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's move on and talk about task 1. So you wrote a letter. What was the formula that you followed for that part of the exam?
For the letter, my question was something like your local sports center has very few facilities for the people of your age. So write a letter to the local council requesting to have more sports facilities for the people of your age.
Okay.
And I kind of assumed that I was over 60 years of age. And, for the pensioners. When I assumed myself to be an elderly person, then I would use different synonyms. Once, if I'm using elderly person, then I would use pensioners. And then for the next paragraph, I would use the retired people, something like that. Okay. I would use different synonyms in different paragraphs.
So was that part of your strategy? I mean, did you choose that age group because you knew so many synonyms that could be used to reference them?
Yeah, I mean, yes, that was why I chose to be an elderly person, because I knew so many vocabulary words that I could use in the paragraph.
Okay, great. Very smart advice. Very smart strategy.
Yeah, thank you. And if I had, there were only two options, either I could use children Or I could use like elderly people. I mean, these are only two, ages where, the sports activity should be related to that age.
Right.
So, and I couldn't think of the words for children, like,
Yeah. Plus, also, I mean, if you were taking on the role of what is it? A 4-year-old writing a letter? I mean, it's kind of.
yeah, I mean, like, obviously, you have to be a parent to write the letter, but I
Yeah.
thought it wouldn't be that interesting to
Right.
write
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I kind of wrote about the elderly people. So, and I kind of mentioned, uh, like, I sort of what do I say? I kind of suggested some sports for the elderly people, like, for example, if they're exercising, then maybe yoga for the beginners, or maybe slow jogging, or trekking on like really, I would say not high mountains, but really like small hills or something like that, like a group
Yeah.
activity for the elderly people, because nowadays, you see elderly people are always alone and they need company.
Okay.
And this is the only way, like, people of that age group can get together and have all these communication and activities together. So that was like the whole idea of writing this letter.
Okay. So was that one of the 3 things that you were asked to include in the letter? Something like, they give you the 3 suggestions, not suggestions, but 3 things you are supposed to include in the letter. Was that one of them?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would like to mention that.
Okay.
When I like started the letter, obviously they give you, like, you can use dear sir or madam. So I think the smart way is to always use what they give you. Like, if they say use dear sir or madam, then you should write dear sir or madam. So I kind of used that, and then I sort of, in the introduction, I wrote who I was, what my age was, and that I was like a local resident of that community. And then the first paragraph would be the pointer, like, they give you 3 questions, right?
Yep.
Which you have to address in the letter. So my first paragraph would be related to the first question, like, it said, I don't remember what it said, but it was something like, why do you need this sports facility? Something like that. So my first paragraph would be like, why do I need that sports facility in my local community?
Okay.
That would explain my first paragraph, and then my second paragraph would explain the second question that they gave, like how would it benefit the other people in the community. So that was my second paragraph. And then the last would be like, can you suggest some sports facilities that can be incorporated? Then my third paragraph would be like suggesting some of the sports facilities for people of my age, and in the conclusion it would be like, I am requesting the local council to actually consider my request, and it would in a way benefit me and also the society and also the people living. It will contribute to the good health and well-being of the society.
Okay.
So that's the way I wrote my letter.
But before all of that, I mean, was there some sort of introduction paragraph to profile who you were, with regards to your age and why you're writing the letter? Did you include something like that or not?
Yes, I gave like brief introduction, like,
Okay.
that my name is so and so, and I am like 63 years of age,
Okay.
and I am a retired person,
Okay.
something like that.
Okay. So there was definitely some instance of declaring the profile and declaring the reason for writing the letter.
Yeah, I mean, like, I didn't know what to write in the introduction, so
Okay.
I thought like I must introduce this person who's like an old person and is writing a letter to the local government, so they might as well know who he is and what his current status is.
Okay, great. Okay, and then you say you wrote you committed 1 paragraph to each of the bits of information that were required in the question, and then you wrote some sort of small farewell paragraph outlining how this was just generally good for several different reasons, for people's health, for society, and other reasons that you shared. So in total, there were 5 paragraphs in this letter.
Yes, there
Okay.
were.
Okay. So with regards to tone, and in a letter, it I mean, this was obviously not a letter to a friend. What were you doing to ensure that the tone of the letter was in keeping with what the task required?
I mean, while I was practicing, like I would practice like formal letter and informal letter. Like there are some words that you can use for the formal letter, and it's not necessary to use the same words in the informal letter. Informal letter is like, the way you talk to your friend or your parents is like very informal, and it's just regular, uh, common English that you speak on a regular basis. So you just kind of write that if you have an informal letter, which is, I think, very easy. But when it comes to like formal letter, I think you need to have that formal tone. Um, for example, how can I put it? Like there are some words. Maybe if you are writing about a complaint, so then you would start maybe you would mention like I'm writing in regards to the advertisement, or I'm writing in regards to so and so.
Right.
Or maybe you're writing something like with regards to the conversation or something like that. Like that's formal way of writing a letter to, if you're writing about a complaint or writing to the government or some higher authority. So you have to like practice the formal words, like when you're writing to your boss.
Yep.
You can't really write in the same way that you're writing to your friend. So you have to practice the formal words to write a formal letter.
Right. And so for people that are listening to this, where did you find resources to learn how to write that way?
Like I would, if I have, okay, sorry, let's begin with the way I practiced. When I went to this coaching center, they kind of gave me the practice papers, which was Cambridge practice papers, which was like Cambridge 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Like all these editions, they kind of gave me a soft copy of all these test papers. So every book had 6 papers, and so 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 6 books, 6 papers, so 6, 6, 36. Okay. So on the whole, I kind of practiced 36 exam papers.
I see. So
yeah, so I would always have this like 4 academic, like if you see a Cambridge IELTS book, there are 4 academic papers and there are 2 general papers. So every general paper, like one of them had like a formal letter and then one of them had like an informal letter. So whenever like I wrote an informal letter, I would first write it the way I would write it in the exam, and then I would go and search the internet for the same letter that I would write the question in the search bar, and then I would find all the students who have written the same letter and who have the letter that would appeal to me. Like I would think, oh, this is a good letter, and then I would try to practice like in the same way. I would take the good things about that letter and I would try to write it in the same way.
I see.
So I did a lot of search about the topics on the internet.
Okay, I see. And when you were taking notes about the language that's used in letters, so for example, formal letters versus informal letters, what was your personal strategy for recording this language? Did you make lists of phrases or anything like that, or was it more just practicing letters as a whole?
I don't think I took any notes for the letter, but like I would say, like for a letter, it's very important that you read the question. Read the question twice. I mean, first time, like when I actually read the question, it's hard for me to understand the whole question. Like I would read it in parts. So I would read the first part of the question, then I would read the second part, and I would concentrate like what exactly they want me to write about.
Okay.
And then I would like target like the parts of the question, and then I would make points like okay, for this part of the question, I'm going to write this, and for the second part, I'm going to write that. So that's how I actually wrote my letter. I do not copy from the internet, or I would like read a lot of letters, but then I would use my own style to write a given letter.
Okay. So maybe you were adopting some of the elements that you were seeing in those sample letters, but fundamentally using your own style of writing.
Yeah, I mean, like I would read a given letter, and then if I liked something about the letter, like if I liked just liked a word, or maybe if I liked a sentence, or maybe the way the paragraph starts, if I liked the sentence, like the starting sentence, then I would use it.
I see.
But I wouldn't use the entire thing. I would
Right.
just use parts of it.
And now, last thing that I want to ask with regards to task one is how are you signing off the letter? I mean, was it some original phrase that you were using, or was it a kind of a traditional "thankfully yours" or something like that? I mean, what was the sign off for you?
If I'm given an informal letter, then I would write lots of love or something like that, like
Okay.
very informal. Like I would write to a friend like lots of love or see you soon or something like that. But if it's a formal letter, then I always end with yours sincerely or yours faithfully,
Okay.
or like very formal way of ending a letter.
I see. And with the formal letter in your exam, did you sign off with a first and last name, or just a first name, or?
I actually meant, you know, in the introduction, when I mentioned the person's name,
Yep.
I kind of wrote the whole name, like first name and the last name.
Okay.
So I used like the whole name at the end of the letter.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I just don't, I only bring that up because it's something that candidates often ask. You know, if they have a formal letter, should they be sharing both names? If they have an informal letter, should they be sharing just the first name? I mean, you obviously scored very well, and for your formal letter, you shared both. So, is there anything else you wanted to talk about with regards to task one writing?
Um, I don't know. I think like whoever is like planning to get the exam, I think the only way to score in writing is to practice. For writing, I think you have to read a lot of essays. You have to read a lot of letters, and then you have to write them yourself. There's no other way of scoring high in writing. That's what I feel.
Mhm. Okay, well, let's move on then to the final part of the exam, which was speaking, and you scored 7.5. And obviously, you've been speaking English your whole life. So I'm sure that there's quite a bit of backstory that goes into this speaking mark. What do you think fundamentally played in this 7.5 in speaking?
Like all my life, I think I've always been in an English medium
Right.
school and English speaking institutions, and for the past 6 years I lived in the UK.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, I did my masters from UK. So, but having said that, it's not um, I would say yes, partly it's going to help you in the exam, but I think um, it doesn't matter, like even if you're not from an English speaking institution, if you practice like speaking with other people and maybe at your workplace, or even if your background is not English,
Yep.
but if you like speak English on a regular basis, I think that will help you, because it doesn't matter if you have an accent or you don't have an accent. Even if you like you have to speak good English. That's what matters, I think.
Right. And so now, with regards to the IELTS context that comes over all of this, what sort of strategies were you following to ensure that your speaking was going to perform at its maximum on the exam?
Um, so I kind of googled all the important topics actually. Let's say like the general ones that always come into the speaking. For example, television, global warming. Cinema, advertisements, television, what else? Education and technology. So these were like the common and the general topics that always came up whenever I researched about speaking.
Mhm.
So I would write like if you're given a cue card about, let's say, education. So mostly the question that comes up is I don't know, about primary and secondary education. So that's like a common question. So depending on the question, I would write like a small paragraph about I don't know, about education and what I can talk about. So I did a lot of reading about these topics, and so when I'm practicing, like I would record my voice. So I would write down this passage, like not a passage, but just a paragraph, and then I would try to speak what I've written, and then I would record my voice. So I don't know if I'm making any sense right now.
No, you are completely.
So I would write a paragraph that I can talk about, and then I would speak about that paragraph, and then I would record my voice.
Okay,
And
but you mean you're not saying exactly what's in the paragraph?
no, it's just like pointers.
Okay.
What I can talk about. Let's say just you write bullet points, and then you speak about those things.
Right.
Yeah. Then I would like how it happened in the exam. Like you have a minute, and you just write down the bullet points. Like even the keyword, just the keyword, and then I would time myself, and then I would record my voice. And I think for speaking, I did a lot of reading, and that's how, like, for example, I'm not a very technical person. So, in order to know more about technology, I had to read about technology.
Okay.
So, when you read a particular article about technology, so you have these words like cutting edge technology, and you have like different words that you use for technology, like advanced or something like that.
Right.
So I would read this paragraph about technology, then write the keywords to practice, and then I would speak about those the keywords.
Okay, all right. So it's kind of training yourself to use the lingo that goes along with a particular topic.
Yeah, that's right. So I would like speak about it for like 2 minutes, and I would say like when I started off, like the maximum I spoke for was only 40 seconds.
Okay.
I couldn't speak for even a minute. I was that bad.
Hmm. But it's difficult, though. I mean, it's difficult to speak at length on a topic that has just been given to you, 1 minute prior. So yeah, it does take training.
Yeah. So and like slowly I kind of developed I mean from like in the start I would speak really fast. Like sometimes I wouldn't understand myself, like after listening to the audio clip, and I would think what was he saying, and it didn't really make any sense. Then I would like slow myself down, and then I would try to speak like when you like kind of narrate a story to your friend.
Yeah.
So you have like an introduction, then you have a middle part, and then you have like the ending, right, for a movie.
Yep.
If you kind of trying to explain it to your friend. So I kind of started off like trying to put it like in a story, like a journey, basically, like how it starts, and then the body paragraph, and then how to end it. So that's how I practiced the for the cue card. Um, so in the main exam, I think I would say that I was very nervous because like the instructor, I mean the examiner, she was really nice and polite. They kind of make you sit, and they kind of make sure that you're okay and comfortable in your chair, and they kind of give you, a minute to kind of relax. So, but that actually did not help me. So I was a bit nervous. I think when I was practicing of all the modules, I thought maybe speaking is my module and I'm going to score the highest in speaking. But I was so nervous that day, it kind of showed. Um, so yeah. So for the introduction, like she asked me like, what's your name and where you come from. So that was just like answering to the point. Like I would not explain or go in detail about all those things. And
Yeah.
then she started like asking questions. I don't know. The whole topic that she was asking me was about a healthy lifestyle and diet and exercise. Like that was the overall topic that was going on. Like from question to question, she was getting to exercising and healthy lifestyle. My cue card was describe an article that you read about a healthy lifestyle, and why do you think it was useful, or how do you think you can implement it in your lifestyle, or something like that. So I don't know, I just made it up that I read an article about positive thinking, which kind of leads to a healthy lifestyle.
Okay.
So I would say that when I was talking, there were like many pauses. I did pause. And the biggest mistake I made was when I finished talking about the first point, and then the second point, I was actually looking at the question. I wasn't looking at the points that I made, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
but,
So,
yeah.
they give you a minute to actually make bullet points.
Yeah.
I wasn't, when I had this pause, I was panicking so much that I did not look at what points I made. I was actually going back to the question, and, I think that's where I lost my marks. I was
Okay.
actually looking at the question to kind of remind myself if I'm on the track or not. I wasn't looking at, I did make good points when I was writing down in that 1 minute. I did make good points about the topic. But I was panicking so much that I did not check what
Okay.
I've written, and then
Well,
I was going
yeah.
back to the
I
question,
think
and
though
then,
that's a very helpful experience to share with people.
Yeah, so I kind of lost focus in my speaking module. Like, I don't know why I was so nervous. Maybe it was like too much of pressure on me that I wanted to perform really well.
Yeah.
But then I think it really got to me, and I couldn't. I had so much to say. When I came out of the examination hall, and I was thinking, I had so much to say about it because I myself practice healthy lifestyle and I'm into exercise and all that.
Yeah.
But I couldn't really, speak about it because I was so nervous.
I mean, how was the third part where you're engaged in a short conversation on the topic? Did that go better?
I think by the third part, I think I relaxed a bit because the hardest part for me was the cue card. So if I'm having a conversation with someone, then I am really good at conversing. But then if I have to speak, for myself, I have to speak for 2 minutes, and the examiner is staring at me, and
Yeah.
that's really hard.
Yeah.
So that was the hardest part. So I was like, oh, okay, the second part is done now. I can relax a bit and just have a conversation with the examiner.
Right.
So that really went well because
Okay.
that were following follow-up questions about what I spoke in the cue card. It was healthy lifestyle, and she was asking me why do you think people don't have time to exercise? And I said yeah, we have a very dynamic lifestyle, and people are so busy they don't have time to go to a sports center and exercise. Basically, people are busy; they don't have time. So that was, and she said what kind of sports are popular in your country? And what do people like to exercise? What do you think is the best form of exercise for the people in your country or in your town? So those were more easier sort of questions, and I think by the time you get to the part 3, you are more relaxed, and you sort of know the examiner, and so you kind of relax by end of it. So I think part 3 is the easiest, I would say. For the speaking, I would say that it's really important to talk to other people. Um, like let's consider for my family, everybody is well spoken, they can speak good English. So basically I wouldn't talk to my parents in English. It's more of my the local language that we speak. So it's always that. But when I started preparing for IELTS and I would talk to my parents, my brothers, I would always speak in English. And whenever I'm talking to my friends, then I would try and speak proper English.
Yeah.
Because in my country, people sort of try to collaborate both languages. they kind of partly speak the local language and then they partly speak English.
Okay, right.
So I would make sure that, okay, I'm speaking good English. I'm like communicating in a proper way. I'm not really trying to merge everything because like it would then naturally come to you and then you would speak partly one language and then partly another language, right?
Right, yeah.
So I would make sure that I'm speaking good English. And obviously I had friends who were taking IELTS exam. So I would practice with them. So whenever we called each other, then we would speak in English and we would share ideas. So that kind of really helps. I think it also kind of eases all the pressure. Like, like someone else as well writing the exam. You're just not alone. So it's always good to like speak to other people, take their ideas, and you can also guide them. Like if you think that you have good strategy, then you can share your strategy with other people.
Yeah.
So it's very important to talk to other people who are on the same boat, I would say.
Yeah. So I just wanted to move back quickly to a point that you made, or something that you shared. You said that you did your master's in the UK, yet you really had never heard of the IELTS, or hadn't really learned about the IELTS until just late last year. I'm wondering, did you not have to take an IELTS to do your master's in the UK?
No, I mean 6 years ago, I was actually planning to go to US.
Okay.
I mean USA. So, and for that, I had to write GRE and TOEFL.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So I did give TOEFL, and I think I scored 96 out of 120 in my academic TOEFL. Yeah. So I had my TOEFL score, and at the time, the university, this UK university, there was a fair going on, and then I went to speak to this the admissions officer, and she said like, oh, it's okay if you have your TOEFL score, we accept TOEFL score. So she was really happy with my score, and because I had a prior education, like all my education is English,
right?
So she kind of accepted my application, so I did
see.
not have to give IELTS for that.
Oh, okay. So that's interesting. And just a quick question: you've taken both the TOEFL and the IELTS. You've been successful on both. Which of the two do you think is a better examination of a person's English?
I would say IELTS is definitely better.
Okay.
Because if I remember, TOEFL, it was I wouldn't say test your English, like it was I don't know how to describe it, because for the speaking module, when I was giving my test, for the speaking module, you just the question kind of displays on the screen.
Oh, yeah.
And your recorder starts. I mean, you have to speak. There's no one that you're speaking to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of just records your voice. I mean, whatever you're kind of speaking about the topic, it kind of records it, and then they kind of grade you on that. So, and even the listening, I would say that while I was giving my TOEFL, the listening was like the speaker kind of speaks about a topic, and then you make all the bullet points which you think are really important, like this might be the answer, then you just make notes, and then the questions are displayed to you, and then you kind of match your notes and the answers.
Okay.
So I don't know, and the reading passage is kind of same for both TOEFL and IELTS.
Okay.
Like you have this reading passage, and then you have questions, and then you just answer them. And writing, yeah, almost the same, I would say, but there's just like 30 minutes. Like here you have like 40 minutes for the essay, but then in TOEFL you have just 30 minutes to write about, I think, 300 words something.
Oh, okay, wow.
Yeah, so I think IELTS is more, I feel like it kind of tests your English in like different ways.
Syeda, I want to thank you for coming on the show today and for taking the time to share this insightful advice. I know people listening everywhere are really going to appreciate and put into action the tips that you've shared today. So thank you very much.
No problem, Ryan. Thank you.